From downtown Bakersfield, 23 ABC News starts now.
Remembering an important World War II battle through the eyes of a man who served, the latest segment of Veterans Voice.
And what's the likelihood that a big earthquake could hit Bakersfield? We'll take a look at the state's fault map in just a few minutes.
Good morning and thanks for joining us here at 23 ABC News at 8:30 for your next half hour. I'm Tori Cooper.
And I'm Emma Lockhart.
All right. Mother Nature has a lot in store, but no storm and maybe just some wind and the fog. There was no fog yesterday during the fog run, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are tracking some fog just to the north of us here in Bakersfield. So right now, taking a look outside, you're seeing some cloud cover. It's looking like that's going to be the case. Mostly cloudy skies here in the valley throughout the day. 48 as that temperature right now. We're actually 5 degrees warmer than it was at this time yesterday, but those afternoon highs are actually going to be significantly cooler. As you can see, that cloud cover is across the county this morning. 32 in Frazier Park, 37 in Tehachapi, and 32 in Breckenridge, 46 out in Mojave. Now we are looking at that wind advisory for our mountain communities as well as desert cities. Seeing some breezy conditions in the southern mountains right now, 41 mile-per-hour winds in Jawbone Canyon, but we are looking at some fog creeping into the valley, so that visibility is being reduced on some of those roadways. I'll have details on that in just a bit.
Now, this is something you are going to continue to see. BPD has released the results of another overnight operation to disrupt street racing in Bakersfield. Now, BPD held the operation from 8 p.m. last night until 2 a.m. today. The results show officials made 10 traffic stops, issued 7 citations, and impounded 2 vehicles. Now, this is the second street racing operation just this weekend. And like I said, BPD will likely be conducting more in the coming weeks.
A new California law is now in effect, giving survivors of child sex abuse more time to file lawsuits. Assembly Bill 218, first introduced by Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez from San Diego, extends the statute of limitations for reporting childhood sexual assault to age 40 for survivors. The previous age limit for reporting was 26. The bill was signed by Governor Newsom in October and went into effect on January 1st.
In 2 days, you have a chance to give your input on how homelessness may be impacting your community during an outreach meeting in Bakersfield. The city will be hosting its 3rd meeting to talk about homelessness. This community outreach meeting will be held Tuesday at Mechanics Bank Convention Center at 6 p.m. The public is invited to attend. Now, this just comes after 2 previous community meetings have already taken place in the last month. And the county is also gearing up to hold its annual homeless population census, known as the point-in-time count. It is scheduled for January 24th from 3:30 to 10:30 a.m. The goal is to find trends within the county homeless population in hopes of reducing the number of people living on the streets, in cars, under bridges, or anywhere else unsheltered. Now, if you would like to get involved, you can volunteer for the count with the Homeless Collaborative. Volunteers must be 18 or over and can register online at nkernhomeless.org.
A local nonprofit is set to reveal the design of its newest clinics next week. Clinica Sierra Vista will be hosting a reveal of their new facilities. The new health center will focus on women's health services, but also offer a range of service, including behavioral health, family practice, and walk-in appointments. The reveal will take place next Friday at 10 a.m. at the Clinica Sierra Vista South Bakersfield Walk-in Clinic. That's on 2400 Weibel Road. The new facility is expected to open by the summer of 2022.
This weekend marks 6 months since the communities of Ridgecrest and Trona hit hard by a pair of strong earthquakes. Some in those communities are still recovering to this day, but Bakersfield was mostly spared. But what are the chances a large earthquake could hit right underneath our feet right here in Bakersfield? And would the city be prepared for such a quake? 23 ABC's Austin Westfall spoke with a local expert to find out.
Emma, in order to understand the likelihood of a quake epicentered right here in Bakersfield proper, you have to first understand the local fault systems. Now, this is the state's fault map. As you can see right here, downtown Bakersfield. We're going to zoom out. As you can see, Bakersfield is surrounded by earthquake fault zones. The closest one is the White Wolf Fault Zone. This is where the 1952 Tehachapi earthquake happened. It killed 12 people, 18 people were injured in that quake, and it caused over $50 million in damage. They did not know about this fault zone before that quake happened, but now let's head over east to the Ridgecrest area. That's where July's event happened. Again, that was a fault that was previously not known by scientists until those earthquakes on July 4th. Let's head over to this big red line. This is the fault that we're all familiar with. That's the San Andreas fault, and it was responsible for a big one here too. In 1857, it was responsible for the Fort Tejon earthquake, which killed 10 people, and it was magnitude 7.9, one of the largest in the country's history. But again, Bakersfield proper, as you can tell, there aren't many faults in the area. But if we didn't know about many of the other smaller fault systems before, what's to say another small one couldn't pop up right underneath our feet? Here's what a local geology professor has to say about that.
It's a possibility, but likely it's going to be a smaller magnitude earthquake, largely because of where we have faults and the types of faults that are likely to occur underneath Bakersfield. They're going to be smaller, so the ability to have a large magnitude earthquake is a little bit reduced.
If Bakersfield were to get hit with a big earthquake, it would likely be from one of the surrounding smaller faults or the much bigger San Andreas. Crew says it's hard to pinpoint about how often these local fault lines will rupture. Now, so as we as the city and a county, are we prepared for another big one? Together, the city of Bakersfield and Kern County are updating their emergency response plan. We're airing a special newscast tonight, taking a look at that. We'll also be hearing from Ridgecrest and Trona residents and talking with seismology experts in light of July's big quakes. For now, in the Live Center, Austin Westfall, 23 ABC, connecting you.
Thank you, Austin. The Battle of the Bulge in World War II was the last major offensive effort by the German army, lasting for more than a month 75 years ago.
For local veteran Bill Glaspie, it was another hill, another forest that he fought through on his 17-month journey from Normandy to Munich.
A veteran's voice that still remembers that moment in time and the need for the answer to call even today. 23 ABC's Mike Hart has more.
How in the world do you find yourself on there?
There ain't nobody else looks like me.
And it's not easy to stand out when you come from a family of 12 kids. Bill Glaspie grew up in Avondale, Arizona when he was drafted into the Army in 1943. He was part of an anti-aircraft division.
Yeah. And with a half-track, all you got to do is just whip off the side and start firing.
He shipped out for Europe and took part in D-Day, although his equipment hit the beach before he did.
We had our half-tracks all set up, all ready for us to go when we got there. And we in a landing craft, but we didn't have to get off into any water or anything like that. They had a place where we could just unload.
His first assignment in Saint-Nazaire, France, his anti-aircraft gun protecting a dam that overlooked a Nazi submarine base.
There was a German plane come through, and all 4 tracks opened up on him at the same time. And he was trying to get out of the fire, and he went straight up. And there was so many bullets going in, that plane was just going around. Later, we found out there was 3 German generals on that plane.
Shortly thereafter, his unit was taken to a staging area when General George Patton, leader of the 3rd Army, pulled up in a Jeep.
And there was one sergeant there that had a beard. He told him, said, "I'll be back in 30 minutes. That beard better be gone."
But there was no time to shave.
Well, there was 2 planes. As he come over the hill, he was, I don't know whether he was trying to strafe or whether he was just looking, but you could see the bullets as they hit that plane. And it flew about 400 yards from where we was at. And of course, the pilot was dead before he ever hit the ground.
His journey across France ended in Belgium on the German border when the Battle of the Bulge began. Glaspie said there was no time to set up.
The German army was moving so fast, we'd pull into a place and maybe start to dig our track in. They'd tell us, don't bother, we got to go.
It has been called the bloodiest battle of the war, with more than 19,000 American casualties.
Well, there was bodies hanging up in trees that had been blown up there. I always say my mother's prayers kept me out of a lot of that stuff over there.
But the Allies behind General Patton drove back the Germans, ending the last great enemy threat.
I don't think anybody liked Patton, but he got the job done.
From there, Glaspie crossed the Danube River, then the Siegfried Line, and into Munich when the war ended. He earned several commendations, including the Bronze Star.
Commander, I said, what is military service? Well, he said be as good as you can or as bad as you can. I don't know which.
Bill went on the honor flight last May, what he called one of his last big trips. He also drove by himself to Oregon to visit his kids last summer. But there's still one thing that might prompt him to leave Bakersfield again.
If war broke out, rather than have them come over here, I'd go back. Maybe I couldn't hit anybody, but I could scare them.
A call to action that this 96-year-old veteran says he's ready to answer. In Bakersfield, Mike Hart, 23 ABC, connecting you.
Wow, love that. All right, well, we want to tell your veteran story, so send us information on someone who served. Include their name, picture, some basic information, and send all that information to mike@kero.com.